Up to an important anniversary in my life. On December 8, 2011, I started writing computer games, and I eventually competed in a number of computer gaming contests, including ICGA and TAAI, which is Taiwan's artificial intelligence contest. Taiwan and Holland are two big centers of artificial intelligence games. I don't know why everything centers around there, and to a lesser extent Japan. Although I haven't been to Japan for a contest for 5 years now. So what had started my interest in computer games? Well, first of all, my PhD work was very related to it. But a number of events in my life set off a chain reaction in which I developed a very strong interest in writing computer games. I was at a conference in June of 2011 where I met a girl, and she was working on another computer game idea. This is, well, not really a computer game, but an AI-related topic that involved games called satisfiability of solving. This is an NP-complete problem, so potentially a difficult problem for computer science. And she was working on heuristics involved in it. And she was also the first girl ever to start a conversation with me. Usually I have to be the one to start. Actually, it's kind of funny because my first day at the conference, this was on June 10 of 2011, my first day at the conference, I saw her, but I didn't know what to say to her. Actually, there's a little bit of a mistaken identity. I thought she was another girl that I had known in college. And I looked at the roster to see what she was going to be presenting, and I couldn't find her name. And then I looked more carefully, and I realized it wasn't her, because the girl I knew in college had a very distinctive birthmark, and I didn't see it on her, so I knew it wasn't her at that point. And but I still wanted to get to know this girl, and I was thinking, how am I going to ever just start any conversation with her? I don't know what she's involved in. And so my next day at the conference on June 11, 2011, I was hoping to wait for her at the very back of that lecture room. And when she would sit down, I would exit the back door and then go outside and come in through the front door and sit down next to her. That way it wouldn't look like I was watching her. And I had planned this all night, thinking what to do. And I sat in the very back of the classroom as planned, and she starts walking toward the back of the classroom, and I know, oh my God, my cover has been blown. And so my heart started racing 1,000 beats a minute, and she sits down next to me, and she starts talking to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I went to the bathroom, and I just cheered out loud, because it was the first time a girl had ever started a conversation with me. But now, 6 months later in December, I wasn't sure how to impress her more. I mean, we had already known each other as much as we could, and I was looking for that one big ticket event that would really just completely blow her away. And then I remembered that she was working on something involving computer games, and AI computer games like chess and checkers, and I dug out a program that I had written many years earlier just for a class project, and I started improving it, and long story short, it has become the third strongest computer Othello program in the world, and that's just for Othello. I've also written other games. Unfortunately, I didn't win any gold medals this year in 2018, but it's ups and downs. I'm sure I'll win some in the future. So I started, it was December 8th of 2011 when I started writing the computer games. Actually, I wanted to, it was a few months before that when I started to run out of things to impress the girl, but what really kick-started the games was toward the end of my time at school where I was working on my PhD. My grandpa had passed away. My mom had called me with the news, and I remember just not being able to focus on anything. I hadn't dealt with a death in the family for 16 years at this point. my maternal grandfather passed away in '95, and this is 2011 that my paternal grandpa passed away. And I hadn't really dealt with death in the years between then. I mean, not in real terms at least, so in abstract terms, sure, but I hadn't really dealt with the concept of death for 16 years, so it shook me up a little bit, and I couldn't focus, and I just wanted a distraction, if you will. Because at this time, I was really wrapping up my PhD research, only writing and wasn't really researching something. And hence the computer games were born around that time. My grandpa passed away, I think November 25th, and I started writing games on December 8th. But a lot of events kind of converged on one another to cause me to start writing the games. I mean, the other thing was that a year and a half before I started writing computer games, I had another turbulent relationship with a girl, and who was taking advantage of me financially, and I really got a little bit fearful of dating in general. And the only reason I liked that girl that I met at the conference was because she lived halfway around the world, and it wasn't going to be easy for her to really mess up with my life. And I was only comfortable with dating in those terms. If it was somebody who lived next door and I could see her any moment I want to, I wasn't too comfortable with that. Anyways, so I started writing the computer games to get my mind off of my grandpa and to impress the girl. And long story short, 18 months later, I'm going to my first computer gaming contest at the ICGA, International Computer Gaming Association, and I got third place in Surakarta. We didn't compete in Othello that year for some reason, but I got third place in Surakarta, which is another one of my favorite games. It's almost like a flagship product of mine nowadays after 7 years. I'm starting to like some of the combinatoric games as well, especially Dots and Boxes and Cram, and what else? So basically anything that can be broken down to combinatorial numbers. What are some other highlights? My first 2 weeks writing the computer games, my brother almost wanted to assault me because I had said something about Grandpa that we were getting ready to go to a ceremony, and I didn't want to leave we were staying at my uncle's apartment, and I didn't want to leave because I was writing a computer game. You know, I was only a week or two into writing computer games, and I really thought it was going to be a next big thing. I really thought I was writing the next Facebook or YouTube or something like that. I really did. I had big dreams. Obviously, I know where I am now, but at the time, I had big dreams. And I didn't want to leave the apartment because I was busy writing something. And my brother says, "Come on, it's Grandpa's funeral." And I said, fuck Grandpa, my games are more important, And he said, "Are you kidding me? Our whole family's going to be there." "Yeah, fuck our family." And my brother was so upset at that. He said, "Fuck you," really loudly. And he never says fuck. I don't think I've ever heard him say fuck since then or before then. It was the only time in his life I ever heard him say fuck. And then just last year I went to see the girl I was trying to impress writing these games. And she was very upset at me because I wouldn't put my computer down, and she didn't even want to talk to me because of that. And I had to promise her to not touch the games for the rest of the trip. And yeah, it's kind of it's kind of worked, and it's kind of backfired. I have met a lot of people writing the computer games that I wouldn't have otherwise met, but at the same time, I talk about writing the computer games as something to help me meet my future wife, but at the same time, I'm holed up writing the computer games all the time instead of going out to meet my future wife. So it's pros and cons. In 7 years' time, I think it's gone both ways at times. So I think the next 7 years will be similar, and hopefully I'll meet somebody doing it. Thanks for watching.